to Ding, the perfect playlist with me, Farah, and Pete.
Hello, hello. Yes, Ding, the perfect playlist, your favourite spin-off podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, Ding is a podcast where we write songs every episode, so be sure to go and check that out. We've got 2 seasons. You can find it everywhere. And this is Ding, the perfect playlist, where we give a special guest each week scenarios, and we're looking for the perfect songs for each of those scenarios. So we've had artists such as Steps, we've had artists such as RuPaul, we've had artists such as Hall & Oates be suggested. But before that, if you would like to find any Ding content, if this isn't enough for you, you can find us on all social media at Dingfloob. That's DINGFLOOB. Farah, where can they find the playlist itself?
The playlist is available on Spotify. All you need to do is search for Ding, the perfect playlist.
Yes, do go give it a follow and enjoy all of these songs whilst imagining the scenarios in your head. Our guest today in the Music Corner hot seat is a stand-up comedian and the host of her own podcast, Peak Trans. Please welcome to the perfect playlist, Jen Ives. Woo!
Woo!
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well,
Polite start we've ever had. Just constantly thanking each other.
have you been doing anything exciting in this crazy lockdown life?
Like relative to other people, I've been doing some stuff. So I feel bad saying it, but yeah, like yesterday I had a gig in a theatre. Which is pretty exciting. And there was no audience, but it was still fun. And that's it really, to be honest with you. Just writing, just eating biscuits, ballooning in weight and things like that.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What have you been up to?
Same.
Other than making cool podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I've taken up every hobby that people have sort of ever thought of. I've done knitting, I've done sewing, I've done painting, I've been rollerblading, just anything to sort of distract myself from life.
They're all great hobbies though. Like I feel like I've actually also done all of those things at a certain point, but it was all like before lockdown, so I've got like nothing left to do. I started doing embroidery, on like those little rings, those little wooden rings and stuff.
Yeah.
I had this whole vision. I was like, I'm gonna buy some like some blank like bucket hats and some blank t-shirts, and I was like, I'm gonna design my own like hand stitched things in case I lose my job. But I wasn't very good at it.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, no, but I wasn't very good at it. If you want like a really bad one, then you can have it.
Merch coming soon.
I used to always think that because those embroidery things are like circles, I was like, wow, it's so limiting. You always have to do a circular. Like for some reason, I just thought you had to do a circle because it's a circle holder.
Yeah, it's like when you see like a beautiful tapestry. It's like, wow, they really loved circles.
I just turned on Alexa somehow by saying
your
that.
Alexa
I don't even know
is the
what
most sensitive one I've ever come across. Literally, every time we do a recording, it will just chime in.
She's really needy. She just wants to be talked to all the time.
How was it doing stand-up to essentially with no audience? What was that like?
Yeah, it was sort of weird, to be honest with you, but not in a bad way. Not like bad weird, just weird. Like it was really positive because it felt like a baby step back into like doing things, and it was really lovely to be around people again, like people that I remember that I used to know in person and not through a computer screen. It was a bit overwhelming. I was like, wow, I can like I shouldn't, but I could touch you if I wanted to. No, but it was really cool. It was really, really lovely. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully going back to some kind of normalcy. And it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like maybe.
Yeah.
I feel tentatively excited, but then I also feel like I'm running out of time to do all of the things that I'd planned to do. Like I planned to be basically a professional rollerblader before things opened back up again, and that I would only ever arrive at social gatherings on wheels. And at the moment, that's not going to be a feasible thing to do at the moment. I can just about sort of wobble down a flat road and not look like a fawn baby deer. Like I'm just getting to the point where I look like a person. Yeah. Jen, can you tell us more about your podcast?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's called Peak Trans. Basically, it's just me, a trans woman and comedian, sitting down with various cisgendered comedians that I like, just talking about trans issues and stuff. Just because I think it's got a bit toxic in the UK lately, and I just kind of want to approach, because it's like a bubble sometimes, and you don't know how much other people know about the issues that I worry about. So just wanted to talk about it with people. Yeah, and it's going pretty good. It's like pretty lighthearted, pretty fun. But yeah, no, I like it. And series 2, I'm sort of like I'm recording for series 2 at the moment, and it's going to be slightly different as well. Like every series will have like a different sort of thing. Yeah, because you can't just keep doing that over and over, can you? I don't know. Maybe you can. I'm not going to.
We're trying to get by on that formula.
But your formula is quite light, I think. It's quite like fun. Mine can get a bit heavy sometimes. So it'll be trans issues, but it'll just be slightly different. So.
Nice.
I'm excited.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity to plug it. I appreciate it.
No, who doesn't love a good plug? So.
Well, Pete.
Will that make the edit? Who knows? No,
yes, it will. Yes, it will.
There was a visual medium in that. You have to have it.
I
love the sort of polite sip of tea from Jen as well.
Our first sip of tea and an eyebrow raise of the episode. Love it.
So we were looking for the perfect songs for each of these moments. Imagine if our lives had a soundtrack. And we're looking for the perfect song for... Well, I'll give you a scenario first of all. That was the most rambly, long introduction to...
I was like, she's going somewhere with this.
She's getting there. Sometimes the best journey isn't the one that just goes straight there. Okay, it's the one that takes a look at the scenery along the way. And now I'm going to give you the scenario we've been waiting for. So when you are in public and you and a stranger bond for a moment over someone else that's being really annoying.
I put down 212 by Azalea Banks, partly because it's just a banger and I love it, and I have a memory of it. I have a memory of being in a club and just bonding with everybody in the club over this one amazing song. But because you mentioned about how it's like we're bonding over a person that we also kind of don't like, right? That also encapsulates Azalea Banks for me. It's like, because I don't really like her as a person or her opinions, but I can't get away from the fact that 212 is like probably the best song written in the past 20 years, like as a club song. It's so good. So often I find myself bonding with people about our shared dislike for Azalea Banks, but our also appreciation for how much of an absolute banger it is.
Oh my God. That's such a good reason. I love that. I don't think I know. Do I know the song? Is this the kind of song that I'll recognise when it comes on?
Possibly.
It goes like, I can be the answer. Ooh. I'm ready to dance in the pamper. Do you know that one? Yeah, she's great. Not her, but the music is great.
We're adding her song and not her to the playlist.
Yeah.
I was in 212 on the uptown. You know what?
Oh, obviously I know this.
See, you can't not move to it, can you? You just can't. Like, even if you're one of
really
those people, it's like, I don't like dancing, I can't dance.
Look, Farah's still going. We're not even playing the song anymore.
Exactly.
Because I'm imagining like a scenario, for example, on the tube, maybe there's someone being like loud and annoying, and I catch the eye of the person opposite me, and I can imagine us nodding at each other in a way that is not dissimilar, that I might nod along to this song. So it's perfect.
It's one of those kind of like German sounding New York kind of aggressive like techno things where it's like you don't know whether you want to like hug someone or like punch them. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really like it's like Lady Gaga's second album. It's like it's something else.
Is that a whole cafetiere next to you? That is so fancy.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Thank you for noticing, actually. Basically, I just bought this. It's the first cafetiere I've ever owned as an adult. Not that I had any as a child. What I mean is I feel like it's like a thing.
This is the graduation from my youth cafetiere.
I had a smaller one. I had one that was it was 3 cups, but this one's a 6 cup. And I think during lockdown, I've tried to make an effort to try like nice coffee. So I was like, oh, maybe I should buy a cafetiere and like start embracing the fact that I live in Hackney now, as opposed to like always being like, no, I'm from South London, I'm working class, I don't care about all these hipsters. But now I'm just like, yeah, I am one. And it is very nice, to be fair. I'm thinking of getting a butter churn next.
Ooh.
Just a big one for the balcony.
Cool. Right. So our next scenario is that feeling when you know you've had an amazing idea, but you just can't remember what it was.
Okay, so I've gone quite literal for this one based on the title, but also it's because I love the song and it's like a really melancholy song. And that's often how I feel with that. Like, you know, when you have like a dream and you have a dream like, oh, I really want to remember that dream. And then you wake up and you forget it instantly, but you know there was like a good idea in there. And I've always had that thing where I'm like, oh, if that's a great idea, I need to write that down. And then I think, no, I won't write it down because I'll definitely 100% remember it. And then you don't. The song is Wish I Didn't Miss You by Feist, which is spelled Feist. And it's just like really melancholy, really slow. And I think it evokes that sort of like feeling.
It definitely mainly happens to me when I am falling asleep and I'm just sort of going to sleep and I'm like, that's it. I've come up with a joke that's gonna make me a famous comedian. Like, this is the one that's gonna propel me all the way. Yeah. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, no. I don't know what it was.
Yep.
On the flip side, in terms of like dream stuff, like I've had that thing where I've woken up in the middle of the night literally laughing because like I think the joke is so funny and I've like either recorded it into my phone or written it down. And then in the morning I've like listened back to it and I'm like, that is the ramblings of somebody who like is about to have a breakdown. Like it's usually like, oh, a Hoover, but it's like it like owns a hotel. And it's like it's not funny, right? It's like it's just nothing.
I had that once when I went on a night out and I got really drunk, and in the evening I said something that made people laugh. And then I just went into this into the corner of a room and was like, oh my God, I've come up with an entire like joke. And I wrote it down. And then I came back to it the next day and all I had written was, so now I own a milk parlour. And I still to this day don't know.
Now I own a milk parlour.
I was just like, no, this is such a unique thing to write down that there's no way I'll forget what this means.
Yeah, I love that you only wrote down the like opening of the joke. You were like, this will just, I'll be right back there.
Well, who knows? That might have been the punchline. I don't know what it was. It's just that I own maybe it was an instruction to myself.
Go
and buy a milk parlour.
I was so disappointed, didn't know what to do.
I'm just imagining you waking up in the morning and just blankly staring into space, just with that playing in the background as you watch the idea slip away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was inspired by the cafetiere, so I'm going to ask you that feeling when you see someone at work maybe using your mug.
Before lockdown, I had an office job. And it's the first office job I've ever had. And it was like the first time I've ever experienced that sort of issue. But then I had this whole dilemma, right, where I was like, well, do I have to now go and buy a mug? And does it have to have something on it? Do I have to express my personality in a zany way through a mug? And ultimately, I just decided that I wasn't going to conform to it. So I never had one. But because of the stress of it all, the song that I chose was Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit.
No one will have a mug. If I'm not having a mug, none of you have a mug.
So yeah, just smash them all and just let us all go home. Let us do work in the park. Someone at my work had like quite a rude one actually. I remember seeing it and being like, oh, the HR department needs to step in on that one.
But I remember starting at a particular job where no one had told me that there was like a section of the cupboard that was people's personal mugs, and then there was a section of the cupboard that's just like the office's mugs. Wow. And so I just thought, oh, well, there's like a section that has these particularly interesting mugs. So each day I would just go and like take one and be like, oh, today I'm using this. And people were like looking at me and I thought maybe they're not brave enough to use this mug, but that's fine. I am.
Yeah.
And then after a few days, they were like, you can't use that mug. That's Alan's mug. Like, what are you doing? He's gonna come for you.
Alan's gonna go wild. I had the same problem with like the Tupperware lunches in the fridge. I was like, oh, there's a new lunch left here for me today. Not really. I'm not that person.
I love that.
I can't believe they just supply
Oh,
this.
there's a
This is
coat on the
amazing.
coat rack.
Yeah. Oh,
Take
yeah.
everything.
I feel like if I'd definitely go for kind of one of those mugs that's almost completely plain and doesn't really say anything on the main body of the mug, but then has something written on the base. If you've seen what's on the bottom of my mug, then you're watching me drink my morning tea far too intently.
My eyes are up
My eyes are
here.
up here, not the bottom of my mug.
Or get one that has something written inside the bottom of the mug, so then you know if someone's been using your mug. And just have something really horrendous in there, like an admission of something awful that you like. I murdered somebody in 1994. Don't tell anyone. And then you have to see if they approach you about it.
And then when the police arrive at the office, you're like, "Ha, Alan, I knew you using my mug."
Yeah, exactly.
I'd maybe get a trick mug. You know, like a mug that's deliberately got like a really tiny hole in the bottom. So I never use it, but you'll just know who does because it'll just dribble all over them.
That's brilliant. You go to like one of those pottery cafes and just make one that has a really weak handle and just wait for the disaster to happen. This song is a little bit like 212 in that even if you think you don't like heavy metal from the early 2000s, when you hear this, you will want to, get into a mosh pit and start
smashing mugs.
Yeah, exactly. Not all my song choices are about aggression and violence, but just like two of them are.
It's just one of those days, like a freight train. First one through the lane, leaves with the bloodstain. Damn, maniac, you better watch your back.
I feel like I want to break some mugs. I do. I'm just going to move this.
It's a great song. It's really good.
My mug's not safe anymore. So continuing with kind of maybe the office vibe, maybe, again, getting a little bit annoyed with people. Our next scenario is when you're really busy, you're just trying to get something done, and someone just won't stop talking to you.
It happens quite a lot in an office. Sometimes you always feel like there's someone behind you, like watching you, whether it's like your manager or something like that, and you just want to get things done. So I've chose Walk On By Dionne Warwick because I think it's just a beautiful song that I love. And again, there's a common theme with all these songs is that when I hear it, I can't not, sing it or whatever. I just love it. Also, Dionne Warwick has the best Twitter account at the moment.
So
I know a lot of people think that Cher is like the best tweeter, but Dionne Warwick's Twitter was like a revelation. I was so happy that she was on there. I didn't know she was such a funny sort of like Twitter personality. So yeah, you should follow Dionne. She doesn't need my shout out, but there's a kind of small up and coming creator called Dionne Warwick, and just give her a like.
When someone's bothering you, are you the kind of person that will be really polite and try and like, smile along?
Yeah.
Or will you be like, please leave me alone?
No, I am the first option. I'm quite good at it. I like to think I'm quite a patient person. Like I worked in care for like 5 years. So
cool.
That was sort of my job in care. It was like, because when you work in care, like you have a lot of bureaucratic things that you have to do, whether that's like administering medication or filling out forms or like helping somebody to get dressed or just whatever you have to do. You've got things you have to do, but you also have constant things being asked of you, new things coming up, people like fighting for your attention and things, and you sort of have to learn to give everybody like the right amount of politeness and time. I haven't worked in care for quite a while, and I've definitely felt some of those things shift, and I've allowed myself to become more rude to people. But even so, like I still have that thing in me where like I'll still listen to you even if you're like an absolute cretin. I'll still try to like listen to you for a bit. I'm a good, nice person. I'm a saint, and I'd just like to mention again that I worked in care for 5 years. I'm a saint.
I'll still talk to you, but the Walk On By will slowly fade in during the conversation.
It'll be playing louder and louder in the background
until you get the message.
Yeah. What about you guys? Are you guys patient people?
Yeah, I think a similar idea, kind of like almost like the swan technique, where like on the surface it's like, And then underneath the surface, like you're inside, you're just going until eventually, you just duck your head under the water and stick your bum in the air and tell them to go away. The swan analogy got away from me.
Does that work when you stick your stick your bum in the air as the way to get rid of people?
I thought I had something, and then I was like,
literal advice there.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Never fails. Just turn around, butt in the air.
Butt in the air. It works every time.
I'll get rid of them.
'Cause each time I see you, I break down and cry.
I break down and cry. Walk on by. I like it when she goes, walk on by. She does like a really long at the beginning of it. Walk on.
So glad that's on the playlist.
Yeah.
What a beautiful song. And our final scenario is we are looking for a song for that moment when a plant that you thought was dead comes back to life. I got a little bit emotional there.
Well, this, yeah, I am getting a bit emotional. This means a lot to me, this one. I was just thinking, I was about to turn my camera to show you some of my plants, but my room is in such a mess. I'm going to quickly, really quickly move the camera to show you one of my plants. There, you see that one there?
Lovely.
Oh.
Lovely hanging plant.
Very nice.
I've got lots of plants. I've got like 3 or 4 of them. And I love plants. I like looking after them, but I'm not a good plant parent. Like, plants need what I need, which is like sunlight. It's like attention. And the problem is, during the lockdown, I've been a bit like hovelly, like living in the dark. So if I have a vitamin D deficiency, they have a vitamin D deficiency. But I do love them and I do feel bad about it. Look, I've got like baby bio and everything. Like, I care. I care about them. Like, I want them to. I've also got this. I've got leaf shine. My dad gave me that. He was like, just spray it on the leaves and they'll
like polish,
make some shiny.
Is it glaze? Is it like glue?
Get a nice
it's like that stuff
finish
that you
on that
spray
leaf.
on food when you need to photograph it for a restaurant. Yeah, it kills the plant, but it makes it look lovely. But when they do eventually come back to life, I feel like a mix of emotions. I feel proud of them, you know. I feel like they've overcome my curse, and I always think, wow, you're beautiful. You're a beautiful plant. So for that reason, I've chosen this song, which was like my favorite song from last year. It is So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings by Caroline Polachek. And it just sums up how I feel about my plants, you know. That's a very convoluted way to get there. And I just kind of wanted to share this song because I love it. But I do genuinely, like, I've danced with my plants to this song. So I think it counts.
Perfect.
Oh,
I love that it means
that is
something
so
to you and
positive.
your plants.
It's a
That's
banger,
really
that
beautiful. Beautiful choice.
If you play music to your plants, they grow better. You know,
Absolutely.
they say that you can like talk to your plants or play music to them. When I played them this song, they grew to 4 times their normal size. And that's true.
Wow.
That's 100% true.
What a claim.
It happened very quickly when I wasn't looking, but it did happen.
If anyone is looking for a song that you can play to your plants to help them grow, then make sure you check out Ding Season 2, Episode 8, where we write a disco song.
We wrote a
to help
song.
your plants grow. Plug number 2.
Oh, did you
of the
really?
episode.
Grow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we did.
G-R-O-W grow.
That's brilliant.
Listen to it.
I like that
before
we're on
you
the
call it
same
cool.
wavelength.
If my plants like die and then come back to life, it almost makes me a bit annoyed at the plant. Like, oh, I see. So it wasn't really that serious, was it? You were just faking it. You were fine the whole time.
Yeah, it was just a cry for attention.
Yeah.
It's just like a teenage sort of thing. Can I tell you, like, when I had, this is unrelated, but it's kind of a creepy story that I like to tell people.
Go on.
Just because you reminded me, saying about coming back to life. So when I used to live with my ex, they had these 2 rabbits, right? And they died, okay, as rabbits eventually do. Like, it wasn't mysterious circumstances, they just
Sometimes
died.
they do. Yeah, okay.
One of them, I can't remember which one, when it died, it was definitely dead. It was like 100% dead. You know when you see a dead pet and you know it's dead because you poke it and it's cold and it's like that and it's like stiff and it's dead, right?
Yeah.
And so my ex buried it in the garden in the snow, not buried like because it was snowing at the time. It was like very like deep snow. So they just buried it in the snow because you couldn't bury it anywhere else. You couldn't bury it in the soil. So it just got buried in the snow. And then in the morning, when they came down to the room, the rabbit was alive and it was outside the patio doors and it was like trying to get in. And it was like the creepiest thing ever. Like I remember it really freaked us out like a lot. And then when we brought it in, it then died again like shortly after, like a couple of hours later. But it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like it was definitely 100% dead. Like it was like properly dead. Like I tried to explain this to people, and people would just say like, "Oh, well, it just must not have been dead. Like it just must have been like in hibernation or like or fainted." Yeah, but I was like, "No, listen, it was as stiff as a board, and it was like this, like."
Oh, wow.
Was it definitely the same rabbit? Not just like a similar rabbit that broke into the garden and like, this is my time to become a house pet.
Sorry, it's funny because like we were going along a path where Peter, you said like, "Oh, this is really positive way to end," and then I was like, "Oh, but what about like dead bunny rabbits?"
Let's hear a little bit of the song to hopefully bring us back to the shiny plant positives.
Oh, it is uplifting.
What great choices. Excellent choices.
that was amazing. This playlist is becoming an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Is there like a Spotify playlist that you have?
There is.
Oh,
People
cool.
can find it. Ding, the perfect playlist.
And all the songs from each episode are
I'll
on
follow
there.
that. That's a good idea.
So, Jen, how can everyone find you and your podcast if they're interested?
So yeah, if you want to find my podcast, it's on Acast, Spotify, and Apple. I don't know if it's on the other platforms. If it is, I didn't put it on there. It's just like it's called Peak Trans. Although there is another podcast called Peak Trans, which is like a gender critical TERF podcast. So just subscribe to the one that is positive and not the one that is like a rambly sort of like horrible podcast. But yeah, listen, subscribe to whichever one you want, but just know that mine is the cool one with the picture of me on the front cover and not the one that's like, oh, trans people suck. You can follow me on Twitter at Jen Ives Comedian or Instagram at I'm Jen Ives, but I don't use Instagram that much, but you can follow me on there. Yeah, I had a lot of songs that I found it quite limiting, only 5 songs. Like I felt like I tried not to do it in a pretentious way, I wasn't trying to show off how cool I am, but I've definitely got songs that I could do to show off how cool I am. So I'll come back and show you how cool I am another time.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. It was really nice. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was amazing. It was such a pleasure to have you on. If you're listening, please make sure to check out Jen and her podcast, Peak Trans.
Absolutely. And if you'd like more Ding content, handle again, if you want to give us a cheeky follow on social media, is at DingFloob. And if you're feeling extra generous and you've really enjoyed yourself, why not give us a little review on Apple Podcasts? A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts really does help the podcast go a long way. So thank you very much. I'm going to go mug shopping.